But I just think that's for somebody today, just that reminder that this God we sing about is not a far-off God. He's up close, and you're not too old, and it's not too late. Jesus has a hope and a future for you. Jesus has a hope and a future for you. So if that's you, write it down, absorb it, lock it in, tell somebody so that you can just find the encouragement in it along the way. I love being with you. I love being together. I love that we get together in all sorts of ways and through all sorts of vehicles and all sorts of expressions. I love that. I love that all of a sudden, because what we're in, we're not even boxed by geography, and we're sitting in a room in the 49316, but we also sat in a room in the 49333 today, and now we're kind of engaging with you in Florida and on the West Coast and other parts of the country. And it's just kind of interesting and unique, this weird kind of world that we're all living in now. And so, but I'm glad to be in it with you and be able to experience it with you. I want to just kind of jump into this series in Psalms we've been, but I want to do it with a little bit of a unique question. I want you to just kind of start to picture, this is a risk, but I want you to just kind of start to picture, where is your favorite place to take a really good summer nap? Okay, where's your favorite place to take a really good summer nap? Now, some of y'all already like, I don't need no nap. I go all down. And I get over yourself and just envision if you were like the rest of us and took a nap. Where would you take a nap? Where's your favorite place to take a summer nap? Might be a hammock, might be like on your couch, might be on your bed, might be in your bed, might be in your, wherever it is, right? You know, is it in your yard? Where's your, on the beach? Where's your favorite place to take a summer nap? Okay, when you've got it, if you're here in the room, raise your hand. Just let me know you got it, okay? Okay, now come back. You can't go there yet. Okay, like this isn't an invasion. This is my favorite place to take a good summer nap. This is a chair that one of two chairs that sits on our deck now, and we always kind of marveled at these chairs. I kind of blanked out on this morning, but I think they're actually called zero gravity or something like that. Yes, okay. Jeff sits in the front row because he's smarter than me, and whenever I'm in doubt, I just ask, and he nods or shakes his head. Okay, so these are. We always said, man, it'd be so cool to get one of these chairs, but we were probably never going to do it, right? We just probably weren't, and. But then my father-in-law had these two chairs, and that's where we had sat in them, and he moved, and where he was going, there was not really like a great space to put these zero-gravity chairs. And he's like, hey, do you guys want these chairs? I'm like, yes, give us the chairs, dude, give us the chairs. So like we've got these chairs, and quickly like I just kind of fell in love with this chair, right? And you sit in the deck, and we don't have it out right now, but there's this little drink holder thing that you can pop out, and you just hook it in, you got a little thing, it's got a little table there. And so I sit in this chair, right? And they'll just pop back. We're going to see if we can pop it. But that a little more than I wanted, but there it is, right? And just sit kind of right here. I can sit here for, you can lock it in and you can just be here, right? Well, I just like taking a nap here. I mean, it's a good life. This is a good life. I've taken naps in this chair this summer on my deck at all sorts of times. I'm a morning person, and so it's even easier to be a morning person in the summer. Yes, like because the sun's actually up, right? So it's just easier in the summer, right? And so I get up really early. I've actually taken a nap this summer in this chair at 7:30 in the morning after I've been up for multiple hours already and kind of read and even studied or journaled or whatever. And I had things. I had the little table out and I said things, and I just kicked back. I love a good 20-minute nap. I love it. I've had a nap at 7:30 at night in this chair on our deck. And some of you who've been around a while, you're like, John, isn't that really close to your bedtime? Yes, it is. Leave me alone. Okay? It is, but I've still slept well that night, right? It's good. Anytime, 20-minute nap in this chair, I just like it. I just kind of kick this thing back, and it's great. I always try and position it. If it's out, it's in the sun, which is a challenge on our deck because we're so shaded in, but I'll try and maneuver it to get any part of me in the sun. And let's kick back and take a nap. I like it. I could probably take one right now if you people would all go away. But it's like great. It's like yeah, I love it, right? It's really good. But here's the thing, it only takes like 20 minutes. I'm kind of that guy, like 20, 25 minutes, and I can feel like pretty good and refreshed, and it's good. It's like you kind of rest from where you've already been, right? And even science would prove that like if you take a short nap, your brain kind of resets, it rewires. It's like rebooting the computer. It just, boom, it shifts back, and so you got a little recharging before you're going for the rest of the day. And I love it. I envision the parts of my day, just how can I get to the chair? How can I get to the chair? It's just, it's relaxing. I enjoy it. 20-minute nap. Just give me a little rest. Give me a little recharging. I love it. Where's your nap? Where's your favorite summer nap? In fact, maybe this afternoon, maybe you'll just share it with somebody. Like if you're on social media of any kind, you just take a little picture of where you take your summer nap and you just hashtag it favorite summer nap, favorite summer nap. Okay, just favorite summer nap. And let's just see where we all like take our summer naps. Okay, you know mine. This is mine. It's my favorite place. I can nap other places, but I like this one. And whenever I've done kind of napping right here, I feel a little refreshed, feel ready to go. Feel ready to go for the rest of the day or whatever that is, however much of the day's left. I just kind of like it. My soul feels a little rested. My body feels a little rested. I like it. What I'd love to do today is I'd love to just help you and help me engage in an ancient and spiritual practice that's actually designed to kind of be like this chair is to me, to kind of give a little bit of rest to your soul. I'd like to just kind of sit in the scriptures for a little bit and listen in and learn from an ancient spiritual practice that's designed really to kind of give some rest and some recharging to your soul. Now, let me tell you a couple of things that are really significant about why this matters today, okay? One is, it's just good for you, right? It's just good for you. I want to give you permission to be great nappers, okay? Great. I just want to give you permission to be great nappers. I don't think you should take 8-hour naps. That's called nighttime. But I mean, just permission to be a great napper, right? I don't think you should nap in this room. That would be rude. But I just want to give you permission to be great nappers, right? It's good for you. And what we're going to talk about today, this rest of the soul and this ancient experience and this ancient rhythm of rest for the soul, it's good for you. But we live in kind of a tiring world, and we live in a tiring time. And one of the most contagious things about a Jesus follower can be a rested soul in a tired world and a tired time. Did you ever think about that? One of the most contagious things that Jesus followers might take to the world in this time is a rested soul in a tired time, in a tired world. But how do you do it? It feels super hard, right? Because most of life feels like it's got an accelerator down in your soul, right? And it's just all energy on that accelerator. So how do we actually engage in this thing? Well, in order to do it, I want to invite you into the scriptures. Psalm 92. We've been spending the summer in the Psalms. Psalm 92 is where we're going to be today. I want to just invite you to scroll there on a phone or turn there in a Bible, however it is you're going to get there in the next couple of minutes. I think you'll find this passage really fascinating and encouraging. And here, just while you're turning there, I'll just let you in on a little something that this psalm is actually has a label. It actually has a name. It's called a Sabbath psalm. It's called a Sabbath psalm. And the Sabbath is this ancient practice of taking one day out of every 7 and putting ourselves in a posture of rest and worship. Like rest and worship. It's one day out of every 7 where we just stop achieving, stop producing, stop striving, stop earning, and we just recalibrate and change, and we crawl on the chair, and we kind of get a little bit of soul rest. We kind of get a little bit, we allow Jesus this space. We're just handing it back to him and saying, hey, okay, here's this day. But here's what I know about you and me both, right, is we got to understand, like, how this thing actually functions. So I want to look at the psalm, but we're actually going to jump in. We're actually going to start in the middle of the psalm. Because here's what I also know about you and me, is that we would like to know the benefit before we know the how. Like, why would I ever engage this? Why would I actually ever take a day off or take a whole day of rest? Why would I actually do the 1 out of 7 thing? Let's talk a little bit about the benefits. So we're going to start reading in verse 8, and this is what the psalmist wrote, this psalm of Sabbath, this psalm of this ancient rhythm of 1 out of every 7 days being a little more devoted to rest and worship. And he says this, but you, Lord, you're like forever exalted. We just sang about that. Surely your enemies, Lord, surely your enemies are going to perish. All the evildoers will be scattered. Already we're starting to get a window into this thing that the psalmist in his Sabbath is getting a renewed perspective. That what might have felt overwhelming for the last 6 days, on day 7 starts to feel a little different. Verse 10 is significant. It's kind of a hinge point in the psalm. You have exalted my horn like that of a wild ox, and fine oils have been poured on me. Now, a couple images there. Every time this idea of horn comes up, this picture of a horn comes up in the Old Testament Bible as part of described by us. You've taken my horn, you've made my horn, exalted my horn. It's really a word for strength. It's a picture of strength. The psalmist is saying, man, you've made my strength like what's something really, like a wild ox. Like you've made, like all the things, like you've made my strength like a gnat or an annoying, no. You've made my strength like a wild ox. You've renewed my strength. In this Sabbath day, you have so renewed my strength and my endurance and my vitality and my, right? I can actually do something. I can get something done. And then there's this word of oil. And what does oil mean? And oil, so much of the time throughout the scriptures, is this picture of the presence of the Holy Spirit, the Holy Spirit of God. The psalmist says, man, when I was in the Sabbath and I just took this day and 1 out of every 7, I was just a little more intentional with you and resting and giving up earning and producing and acting like the world rose and fall on me. I just experienced the freshness of your Spirit. I just really experienced your Spirit refreshing me and kind of renewing me. I just experienced unique encounters with your Spirit in the day, like in that moment. And so what we get right off the bat is, here's this thing, like here's what the psalmist is saying, is that when we Sabbath is about rest and it's about recharging. Sabbath is about rest. We rest from where we've been. We've rest from the tiredness. When I take a nap in the chair, I'm resting from what I've already experienced and I'm recharging from where I'm going. That's the Sabbath. It's a window into the Sabbath. The psalmist says, look, I am resting. I'm getting fresh experiences for your presence and I am being recharged for where I am going. Because there's still a lot of day in front of me. There's a new week in front of me. There's a lot of weeks in front of me. There's a lot of life in front of me. I'm experiencing rest and recharging. That's the beauty of the Sabbath. And here's the thing. Because it's an ancient practice and Jesus set it out as this gift to us, it's like when we practice Sabbath, when we experience it, it doesn't often feel like much inside of one time, like of 1 week. But there really is some cumulative effect. There's some effect over time in this thing. For instance, here's one thing that's true about Sabbath. I'm just convinced of it. I've experienced it, right? One of the fruits of Sabbath is better vacation. One of the fruits of Sabbath is better vacation. Right? When you and I practice Sabbath and we're in this rhythm of Sabbath, we actually experience better vacation. This is a conversation I have every year. This is a yearly conversation with different groups of people, right? We get towards summer, and the conversation goes something like this. Man, we are just exhausted. We are spent. We can't wait to get away and shut down and unplug. Like, we're out for 12 weeks, and we're just kind of doing this thing, which is amazing, right? We need long blocks of rest. But then oftentimes that conversation is followed up like in late September, early October with another conversation which goes something like this. Man, we're so tired already again. Summer was so good, but man, we're so tired again already. And part of the challenge is because we didn't Sabbath well during the year, so we didn't have a rhythm of rest and recharge, rest and recharge, rest and recharge. So by the time we hit summer, really all we could get done is kind of the rest part. We didn't really have enough to recharge. We just had enough to rest. We got one half of the equation. There's this benefit in this practice. God gives us practices, gives us rhythms for the benefit of the bigger chunks of our life. It's like Gabe talked about last week in Psalm 1. Small decision, small decision, small decision, small decision impacts big decision. Right? They really do build on each other. So Sabbath builds on vacation, which somewhere along the way Sabbath can build on sabbatical, which is a whole different deal in an extended time. But there's this rhythm that goes with that. And here's what starts to happen, right? When we pull away in this 1 out of every 7 days, and we allow ourselves to experience rest and recharging, we allow ourselves to kind of start to experience what's really happening here, when we allow ourselves to start saying, okay, man, God is strengthening me, God is giving me fresh experiences of His presence, all of a sudden we start to get this realization that, you know what, I can do this. I can be away. I can't be away. The world doesn't rise and fall on me. I took a day off and the world didn't end. I took a day off and everything's still here. I changed the rhythm for a little bit, and it was okay. Look, and there's only two reasons we won't do it. We're actually fearful that the world will fall apart, or we're arrogant enough to think the world will fall apart. And both of those are trouble. Right? Here's what we learn. When we step away and we experience some rest and recharging, and we experience that life keeps moving, we start to experience the power of Sabbath. The Sabbath experience is the reminder. The Sabbath experience is the reminder that our God is bigger than our grind. The Sabbath experience is the reminder that our God is bigger than our grind. God's bigger than your grind. God's bigger than whatever your weekly rhythm is. God's bigger than whatever your challenging grind is, whatever your weighted grind is. God's bigger than whatever your successful grind is. It's this reminder that God is bigger than our grind. And the writer says, man, I've enjoyed that. I've enjoyed the experience of this ancient practice because I take it and I realize, you know what, the life keeps going, and whatever I thought I was going to have to get done on the seventh day, it's still there. But I've experienced some rest and recharging, and then somehow I start to get more done in 6 days than I used to in 7, which is a little bit confounding and weird and hard to comprehend, right? But let me give you a case in point, because most of you probably experience this. Most of you probably contribute to this. How many Chick-fil-A fans in the room? Anybody know how many days Chick-fil-A is open every week? You can say it out loud. We talk in church on occasion, okay? It would be this many? It's 6 days. Isn't it fascinating? Aren't you? Yes, it's 6. Thank you. Yes, see, finally. Okay. It's like 6 days, right? And you say, well, aren't you concerned about Wendy's and Burger King and McDonald's? Apparently not, right? That's why they continue to be most profitable fast food restaurant. There's a rhythm to this. There's actually a sacred practice to this, that when we pull away, we actually rest and we actually recharge, and there's benefit in this. Now, there's even more benefit. Check this out, verse 11. Let's kind of continue on through the rest. My eyes have seen the defeat of my adversaries. My ears have heard the rout of my wicked foes. The psalmist is like, when I Sabbath, part of what starts to happen is I get strengthened again, I get a little bit of rest, and my whole perspective starts to change. And in my spirit, my enemies start to get a lot more quiet. In fact, I actually start to hear them running away. I start to realize they're not as close and as daunting as I thought they were. There's actually a shift in spiritual battle inside the practice of Sabbath. Want to quiet some of the fear, want to quiet some of the pressure, want to quiet some of the leverage. She's like, I'll give you Sabbath. I'm going to give this to you as a gift. I made it for you. I made it for you. I just want you to have it. It's like, man, even what we hear and see in our spirit begins to change. In verse 12, I like this. The righteous are going to flourish like a palm tree. They're going to grow strong and big like the cedar of Lebanon. They're going to be planted in the house of the Lord, and they're going to flourish in the courts of our God. I'm signing up for flourishing. They're going to bear fruit even in old age. They're going to stay fresh and green. And they're just going to be people who proclaim in an ongoing way that the Lord is upright. He's my rock. There's no wickedness in him. Sabbath didn't make sense, and it maybe even made me question God. And then I practiced it, and I was like, oh, even this is designed for me. When I heard about Sabbath, I was like, God, you got to be crazy. There's no way I could actually do more in 6 than 7. There's no way I could give you a whole day. And then I did it, and I was like, oh my word, that too? That too. There's this practice, right? There's this benefit of rest and recharge and this refreshing of the soul and the refreshing of the body. But then the question becomes how, right? You start to see some benefits, and you're like, okay, well, how do I really do this? Like, how does this whole thing work? Let's go, verse 1. Let's go back to the beginning of the psalm. We didn't really start there. Let's go there now. Verse 1, it's good to give praise to the Lord and make music to your name, O Most High, proclaiming your love in the morning, your faithfulness at night. Do you hear kind of the day rhythm there? Morning, night, and all that connects it in between in this Sabbath day. To the music of the 10-string lyre, to the melody of the harp, for you make me glad by your deeds. I've got time now to pause and think about and see your deeds. Lord, I do. I actually sing for joy at what you've done. How great are your works and how profound are your thoughts. There it is again, like this Sabbath thing doesn't even make sense. Are you kidding me? How profound are your thoughts, God? How profound are your thoughts? So how do we do it? How do we live out in there? Let me just give you a few things. Number one is just pick a day. There's a day in here, right? Morning, night, in this rhythm, and I record your thoughts. Pick a day. Pick a day. What's the day that gives you the best chance to say, you know what? I'm going to quit earning. I'm going to quit striving. I'm going to quit trying to produce. I'm going to quit trying to rescue. I'm going to quit trying to save. I'm going to quit trying to be the answer. I'm just not going to be the source of all things on that day. What's the day that gives the best chance possible for you? A lot of you, it's Sunday. And so you've got this natural deal where you can come and you can do some of the rest of it, right? And you can do the singing. You can do the remembering, right? And we get to do that collectively. And there's a power and a strength that comes in that, right? But just pick a day. Just pick a day. And once you pick a day, then we can start to do some things with it. Once we pick a day, then we unplug from the natural so we can focus on the supernatural. Let's unplug from the world and the rhythm so we can focus on the God who's above all of that. So we've talked about this before, right? But my Sabbath is not Sunday. My Sabbath typically is Friday. And I've talked to you about this before. I just make some intentional steps. On Thursday night, sometime Thursday night, I delete email from my phone. I just take it away. I delete the app somewhere from my phone. We've got this new little communication tool, and I can tell you right now, for my own sanity, I'm going to delete it on Friday because I want to look at it all the time, right? I like work. I like writing stuff, but I'm going to have to delete it on Friday and put it back in on Saturday afternoon, right? It's just to unplug it. Here's the freeing and very humbling thing. When I started doing that a few years ago, do you know what I realized? I realized that everything was fine without me. I realized that life still went on. I realized that I hadn't missed a thing. My Sabbath has never caused me to miss a thing. Here's what I think is true, and I just want to tell you this is true for you too. If you take a Sabbath, if the world ends, you will know, or somebody will let you know. Somebody will find you, right? And again, it's really freeing, but it's also very humbling because part of the reason we don't Sabbath is because we do think everything rises and falls on us, right? I'm just going to be honest. Let me just put all my cards on the table. It was a little sobering to think, you mean that the world didn't need me to keep functioning that way? You mean Journey does fine without me for a day? I mean, listen, I'm just telling you, like this was humbling, it was sobering. I'm like, I kind of like it. That's kind of good, and yet I'm kind of disappointed. We all want to be needed, and yet there's this thing. I pick a day, and we unplug. We talked about this at the beginning of COVID. I think a lot of us in our whole life right now, we need to shrink our feed, man. We need to way shrink our news and media feed. And just saying the way to Sabbath is to completely unplug it for a day. Just completely unplug from it. Completely unplug from it. Can we have a moment? Can we have a moment? Every day I have a conversation with somebody from somewhere in some form. I've had multiples of them today. With how untrustworthy and corrupt the media is. Okay? I mean, don't tell them, but I don't really trust them either. Okay? I mean, don't tell them that. But here's the thing. If we really think that, then why are we 7 days a week absorbed with it? Now, come on, somebody. At home, you're amen, but in the room there, I mean, come on, somebody. That's the truth. Let's take a break. Let's unplug from that thing. You can't recharge if you keep exposing yourself to the thing that drives you nuts, infuriates you, and makes you mad. Like, let's unplug from that and give ourselves a chance to get to the end of the day and think, how great are your works, God? How great are your works? If we're consumed with what we think is broken, it's hard to get to the end of the day and think, how great is my God? It's easy to get to the end of the day and think, God, what in the world are you doing? How are we going to do this? And oh, dear God, and oh, dear man. Just unplug. Just unplug. Unplug. It's summer. Some of us could probably just turn off the power to our house. It's supposed to be 70 degrees tomorrow. Just unplug the power. Like, no, just give yourself no options, right? Just unplug from the world. And look, that's unplug from the job, unplug from the rhythm, unplug from the hurriedness, just take it, unplug. And then we can do the third thing. Then we can celebrate the supernatural above the natural. Then we can do some of this. Then we can sing. We can make music. We can do this thing, right? We're going to talk about this some next week in a different psalm, some of this other piece. But then we can actually celebrate. We can say, okay, look, I'm just giving myself, I've picked a day and I've unplugged from some things, so now I can give myself a chance to really celebrate who God is, just to be reminded, to let that calibrate. I can let my soul rest and actually kind of be detoxed and decluttered from the residue and the junk that's kind of attached itself to me during the week that I didn't even really know about. And I can kind of be detoxed from that so then I can be recharged and renewed and refreshed and clean for where I'm going, for what God has for me in the next week that he has in front of me, and the hope in the future that he has in that week. Like, let me just celebrate. And part of how we celebrate is we do what replenishes. So do what replenishes you. Do what replenishes. Do what replenishes you. What is that? What replenishes you? What is it? And it's different for all of us, right? I've talked about this a lot too, but I love to golf. In the summer, on Friday, the odds are good. Somewhere on the way, I'll find my way to a golf course. It might be to play around. It might just be to hit golf balls. Or I'll think about golf, watch golf, something, right? And then all winter long on Friday, I cry because you can't do anything outside, right? But it's like, and don't try and give me a winter hobby. I don't even, okay. It's like, but yeah, what is it replenishes you? Fridays are a day that, because of the rhythm and because it's unplugged, it's a day I get to spend a little extended period of time in the scriptures and in prayer and in journaling and what I listen to. And sometimes that's people I listen to. Sometimes that might be music I listen to. Sometimes that, right? Just what is that? But just replenish me. In the winter when I can't golf, I read a lot. There's just even more reading. It's replenishing to me. What is it that replenishes you? What is it that replenishes you? Do that. Do that. But put aside what's earning, achieving. Put aside what it is that could cause you to live in this place that everything rises and falls on you and that the world's weight is on you or the job's weight is on you. Just unplug from that so we could celebrate. Imagine if you got to the end of a year, 1 year from now, and you had 52 recordings, like 52 Sabbaths, and you had 52 recordings of all these things you had just celebrated about God and all these replenishing things you had done. Just what if the condition of your soul was different because you took the gift? What if? What if? Do replenish you. And here's the last one. This is sometimes the most fun one, but it's the most necessary one. Just say no. You got to say no to some things. We got to say no to some things. We got to say no. Pick a Sabbath. Pick a Sabbath. And that means parents, we're not saying yes to the last minute sprint because our kid forgot to buy the right pair of jeans for the right thing. It says we're not saying yes to the last minute thing to run over here and fix this. We're not saying yes to get pulled into this part of the job thing. Look, some of us, our best move on the job front would be to say to our boss, I just can't continue to be available 365 days a year. I can't be the only person to respond. Everybody else says no when you call. Why am I always the one that says yes? I just can't. I've got to have somewhere I can say no. I got to have somewhere that I can say no. Why? Not because it's legalistic and not because, well, if I say yes, then God's going to be mad because I didn't do the Sabbath. No, Jesus told the most religious people on the planet when he was walking the earth, he looked at him and said, look, I made the Sabbath for you like it's a gift. I want it to bring you delight. I want it to bring you rest and recharging. Like, don't get so over analytical about it. But be willing to protect it and foster it and say no to some things. Like, let it be sacred. It's a holy thing. Say no. And when we do it, it just gives us this reminder, right? When we begin to practice it, we begin to experience the benefit of it. It's this weekly reminder that God is bigger than our grind. It's this weekly reminder that God is bigger than our grind. It's this weekly reminder that God is bigger than our grind. And that is freeing, gang. It is freeing. It's freeing. Now, I think we should understand there's a risk to not doing it. Psalmist says it, verse 6 and 7, there's this risk. Look at this. Look at this. Senseless people do not know, and fools do not understand. Every time the Bible starts talking about fools, I'm like, I want to super pay attention to that. Like, don't want to like accidentally I want to take everything God has for me. Senseless people don't know, and fools don't understand this practice of Sabbath. That even though the wicked spring up like the grass and all the evildoers flourish, they will be destroyed forever. Here's the bottom line. Here's what the psalmist is saying. When we don't practice Sabbath, we get caught or are caught in the trap of thinking that the things we do on this earth somehow are going to be what lasts forever. The work we do, the job we have, the tasks we do, that's what lasts forever. Sabbath is the backing out of that and the reminder that, you know what, most of what we're engaged in is temporary. Most of what we're engaged in is fleeting. The money we're going to earn, the thing we're going to accomplish, the title we're going to get, the accolade we're going to receive, it's temporary. It's temporary. It's very, very fleeting. See, while the gift of Sabbath is this reminder that our God is bigger than our grind, the risk of not Sabbathing is that we forget God is bigger than our grind. We actually start living like God is smaller than our grind. We actually start living like God is smaller than our pressure or smaller than our success or smaller. Right? It's almost like, man, just take the Sabbath. Take it. Let yourself be strengthened. Let yourself have fresh experiences with the Spirit. Let yourself experience rest and recharging. It's like this handed gift. See, I would love nothing more. I would love nothing more. I mean, hear this contradiction. I would love nothing more than people to look at Jesus' followers and say, those are some of the hardest working, best resting people I've ever met. That's new. I didn't say that first hour, so I don't know who that's for. But it's somebody. Because look, again, the contagious thing, right? The contagious thing is the well-rested soul in a tired world and a tired time. So let me ask you, what would happen? What would happen if you just began to Sabbath now? What if you took, just maybe it feels like a risk, what if you took the risk of saying for the next year, we're going to learn how to practice the Sabbath. And my vacation next summer will actually be better. I just dare you to try it. I just dare you. I dare you. I just dare you. I'm actually going to practice Sabbath, and I'll actually be a better student because somehow if I will actually let myself rest and be recharged, I'll think better, I'll do better on tests, I'll do better on assignments, I'll think better about projects and papers, I'll interact better with people, I'll have more energy for it. I'll be a better employee because there will be something supernatural that happens in my life when I engage in an ancient sacred practice that God rewires, and maybe I get more creative thoughts, and maybe I get faster solutions, and maybe I have better questions that I ask. I'm going to actually be a better vacationer because I practice this rhythm of a day where it's just rest and my soul is in a better place. Would you just try it? Would you risk it? Would you even just say, God, okay, prove it, God, prove it. I'm going to do it, prove it. Prove to me or remind me again that you are my God that is bigger than my grind. I'll tell you the first step. It's before today is done. Pick the day. Pick the day. The rest will start falling into place. Pick the day. Lord Jesus, I thank you for things that you put in place really for the good of our soul. You're so kind. I know sometimes we struggle to trust that your way because sometimes it doesn't make sense and it's hard for us to get our brain around this reality that you always have our best in mind, that you always have your glory and our good in mind, and we struggle sometimes to see it completely. And so we acknowledge that sometimes it's hard to make moves of trust. To think that you would give us a day of rest and that you could actually do more in 6 than we could in 7, that's a little confounding to our human mind. But we do want to trust you. We want to trust your motive. We want to trust your love. We want to trust that your name and your way and your presence really is better. And so we just want to say yes to you. Would you give us the courage to pick a day and go for it? Would you give us the courage to adjust and learn how we're experiencing you and allow you the room to shape it? Would you keep us free from weird legalism and religious death that can come with things like this, and let us experience your life and your gift to us in it? And I thank you, God, that a year from now we could be more rested than ever. I thank you that over the course of the next year we could be the hardest working, most rested people. And God, I pray that today a whole bunch of people would get an amazing summer nap. In Jesus' name, amen.